Hi there, thank you so much again for joining me on this channel. As always, I'm very grateful for all your previous views, likes, subscriptions and shares. So building on last week where we looked at symbols in Hinduism, I thought we'd look at symbols in Islam. In Islam, it is prohibited to have any images of Allah or any images of any of the prophets. Why? This is to stop idol worship. That is when the image, the statue, the picture becomes more important than the thing you're actually worshipping. I was putting this together. It's actually very interesting because one could argue that actually Islam doesn't have any symbols at all. Again, because one of the key things was try and make sure that followers were not worshipping the symbols and were slipping into idolatry. However, saying that, some images in Islam have become associated with the faith. By the way, I have no idea what happened here. I started recording and I just froze. The star and crescent is a symbol often associated with Islam. Here it is on top of a mosque, and of course that wonderful dome helps with acoustics inside and also makes it a lot easier to spot. The earliest uses of this symbol go right back to 6000 BC in what we now know as southern Iraq. Other potential sources include the Greeks, particularly for the goddess Diana. And of course we can't leave out the Romans, who were rumoured to have defeated the Goths on the first day of the lunar month and thus began their association. In terms of it being used in Islam, one origin story goes back to the 1400s, 1453 to be precise, when the Ottoman Empire was being forged. And Osman was believed to have had a dream, a vision, if you will, of the crescent moon. And he took that as a good omen and he therefore adopted that symbol. However, some scholars just simply say because the crescent moon has been in use for so many millennia, it just gradually evolved and became adopted into the Islamic tradition. It's also worth pointing out that it's often seen the crescent moon with a 5-pointed star. And the mythology is that those 5 points symbolise the 5 pillars of Islam. However, there is nothing to conclusively link that. I think the key thing is that there isn't a universal adoption of the crescent and the star by Muslims. Some will reject it, seeing its pagan origins as not sitting well with the faith. The symbol has appeared on many flags from Turkey through to Pakistan. I found this one from the Cocos Islands, which is a territory owned by Australia. And it was designed in the early 2000s by a teenager and it was adopted as the area's flag. What I like about it is how you have those yellow and gold colours associated with Australia, but also it's a reminder of how far Islam has spread. Colours are an important part of many religions, and especially in Islam. So I thought we'd spend time just looking at a few of those and what they symbolise. When you have a religion that begins in a desert, then it's no surprise that green is an important colour. It represents plants, it represents an oasis. Jannah or paradise is described as being a beautiful garden. I think what's also interesting too is that in one hadith or teaching, it says when Allah's apostle died, he was covered with a hibra bird, which essentially is a green square garment. The colour white is there, and I know there is some discussion as to whether white is a colour, but as far as I'm concerned, if you can buy it as tubes of paint, it must be a colour. And the colour white symbolises purity and peace, and it is why on Friday prayers Muslims will wear it, as well as the sacred rites performed during the Hajj. Black too is an important colour. It's associated historically with one of the flags flown by Muhammad in Muslim tradition. It is also associated with eschatology, that is, the end times. So keep an eye out for those colours. For example, often Qur'ans are in a green cover. Here is a beautiful example from the 8th century in Jericho, Palestine, of some tiles in a mosque. The art and craft of using tessellated shapes and tiles and so forth, and that can come through in pottery and architecture, is known as zillage. Great discipline is required to create these pieces of art. It also requires learning of the skills to create them, but also it's an act of faith. It's a way of demonstrating one's faith in Allah. And also the mathematics behind it is crucial. The universe was created by Allah according to cosmic laws, and in some way the zillage that is created can actually reflect that. Purity of writing is purity of the soul, so goes an old Arabic saying. Of course, traditionally, Arabic tribes would memorize stories and there'd be great emphasis on the oral tradition. Of course, with the emergence of Islam, that had to change, thanks to the arrival of the Qur'an. The Qur'an was dictated to Muhammad by the angel Jibril. And I love this image here because you see the Qur'an resting on a traditional stool known as a kursi. Being the word of Allah, it was critical that it was written and copied exactly to make sure there was uniformity of understanding amongst believers. Therefore, calligraphy became even more important to ensure the integrity of the Qur'an. A qalam is a pen made from a reed and is the standard used for Arabic calligraphy. There is even an Islamic tradition that the qalam was the first thing created by Allah to ensure that humans could accurately record the Qur'an. Also, the pen is considered to be a symbol of wisdom in Islam. Interesting, isn't it? Because Muhammad himself did not have access to formal education when he was younger. And it's fascinating how education has become such an important part of the Islamic faith and so revered and treasured. I would urge you to have a Google and to have a look, for example, of geometric shapes, to have a look at different styles of mosques, to find out which nations have the star and the crescent on their flags, and perhaps even to look at some of the stunning and quite frankly gorgeous calligraphy that is out there. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas or topics you'd like me to cover, please leave them in the comments. If you're able to like and subscribe, then please do so. But most importantly, enjoy your learning.